Hiya, my name is Brianni Townsend and this is my presentation for the third year performance portfolio module. I am on the vocal stream and today I will be talking to you I'll be doing a review of my recent recital, and I'll also be discussing what we have learnt in class over this past year. In this recital I covered 8 songs, and each one of those songs covered a decade starting from the 40s all the way to the present day. I believe this was able to show a diversity to my voice in different types of songs, and just being able to work a little bit outside of my comfort zone, as they're not necessarily the type of songs that I would think to choose when thinking of a set, but I believe it really pushed me and I really enjoyed all the songs that I did sing too. As performance-wise, I believe that I had good confidence. I was really nervous before going on, however I did make sure to still be connecting with the audience and trying to look up quite a lot, as I can sometimes be someone who looks at my feet, but I just wanted to really be myself in this performance. Luckily there were a lot of people that I did know there, so actually the whole eye contact and connecting with people was particularly really easy for myself. However, I do believe I still would have been able to do that if it wasn't my friends and family present. I believe my vocals were strong enough to carry and that I had enough energy. Energy can be really difficult with the situation that we had, so it was a theatre with people sat in tiered risers, which can be difficult because everyone's sat down, and if you're doing a very kind of 70s, 80s funky song and you just want to sing and dance and everyone's kind of sat there with their arms crossed staring at you, it can be difficult to bring the energy to the room. So it was really important just to be able to push through that and keep fighting your way through, but I think I actually managed to do that really well, which I'm pleased to say. Also, I didn't have a band, so all of the stage presence and the energy needed to come from myself, and I think I did manage to achieve that to a certain level as well. With tonality and singing in tune, I would say for the first set, so my first half of 4 songs, I did struggle a little bit with this. I think partly that was to do with the monitoring situation that we had. So in the first half, my voice was much louder than the track that I was singing along to, which also I struggled a little bit with timing for that. So I kind of got a little bit in myself there and a little bit nervous, but I know I struggled a little bit on a few of the songs with maybe my tonality there, which is not great, but we've pushed through. I think another thing that affected that as well was because of my nerves, I definitely wasn't breathing particularly great in that first half, and sometimes when I was coming to ends of breath and stuff, I would push a little bit too hard, get nervous that I'm not gonna hit the note and overshoot it a little bit. So I did struggle with that in the first half. However, I do believe in the second half that most of that struggle was not there at all, and that I was in tune for the songs and performing them well. As for the song choices themselves, I think I made quite good decisions with the ones that I used, as there was a range of slower, less dynamic melodically wise songs, but also ones that covered quite a high range of, just range in general. The song that I started with was Why Don't You Do Right by Peggy Lee. I really enjoyed this one. There's only 4 verses and actually a lot of the lyrics repeat, but it's one of those songs that you can put a lot of character and just have fun with and kind of play with the audience a little bit, which I really enjoyed with that. The part I did struggle with that, and I think a lot of this was nerves, was I definitely lost my counting in the instrumental and ended up coming in 8 bars early. Ooh. However, just a bit of improvisation, did a bit of scatting in there, and came back in again with the same line eight bars later, and everything went absolutely fine. So I really enjoyed that one. With Can't Take My Eyes Off You, I do think I possibly used a track that was a little bit in too low of a key. I struggled to find it in the right key and also to be able to transition it myself. But it probably could have done with being about a tone higher, which would have helped especially on the ending of phrases in those verses as well, because they get quite low. But the rest of the song felt very comfortable in my range, especially the chorus. It was in a good place where I could sing it powerfully and still have fun and move around with it as well. Holding On for a Hero, I would say, was the one that I enjoyed the most. It had a good range of lower to higher notes as well, but also just a range in the sense of it's quite a dramatic song, especially in those verses. The whole song is dramatic and I love it because I can be a bit of a drama queen sometimes. Not in a bad way, but I like to have fun when I'm performing, and this was definitely a song that allowed me to have fun. It's one that everyone knows, I could see people singing along and having fun, and that really encouraged me as well to just continue going with that. So I think that's definitely a song that I had the most fun with. I'd say the same about Signed, Sealed, Delivered as well. Singing any Stevie Wonder song will just get my spirit going and I'm ready to give a good performance. So I really enjoyed that. I think that I did struggle with the last song, Look What I Found. It's one that I've been really confident with in my practices every time. It's quite an interesting one because it goes between that kind of fluffy head voice to like quite a stronger chest voice, so kind of like mixed range. However, and really quickly transitioning between the both of them. And I found that I could do that really comfortably in my bedroom every time I was practicing with the track. That actually when it came to doing it in the performance, as I said, I was really enjoying myself, I was moving around a lot, just having fun. But I found possibly I was having so much fun that my heart was beating quite a lot faster than it usually does, and I'm moving around. So actually when it came to singing those higher parts, I would say that I really struggled with those. They kind of just were a bit shaky and didn't feel amazing. But overall, the song went well and I still really enjoyed it, but I think that's what I struggled with that song. This year I actually got to do some vocal pedagogy for the first time, which was really interesting, actually learning how the voice works, how our body supports it, and how it creates those sounds. But I think a massive thing for me this year is that my breathing has improved through being taught how to breathe properly, because as humans we do not breathe properly, which is absolutely crazy. We're born breathing properly and somewhere along the line start breathing really shallowly just into our lungs. But this year we spent time actually learning properly how to fill our diaphragms and different exercises to do that. Some of them were kind of laying down or sitting on chairs, kind of like compacting this area but really feeling how your diaphragm fills, which was really interesting, and it's had a massive effect on my singing as well. I really enjoyed these exercises, however I definitely did get pretty lightheaded at the beginning of doing them. However, I find them far more comfortable now. Like sometimes I'll still get a little bit of lightheadedness, but that's just because I'm breathing properly and getting oxygen like I'm supposed to, so that's great. Another thing that I learnt this year while studying vocal pedagogy was actually about the vocal folds themselves and how they work, as I'd not actually learnt this before, and it's been really interesting. But the way that vocal folds work is something called the Bernoulli effect, which is essentially the way that also aeroplane wings work, or birds' wings, where with the shape of the wing, the air flows much faster over the top and it flows much slower underneath. But faster air creates a lower pressure, which means that it can lift, and this is also how our vocal folds work. However, they are not horizontal wings, they are vertical wings, and that's how the air flows through, and creates the movement that it needs to be able to create sound. I found that really interesting as I didn't know that before. However, another thing that I also didn't know about vocal folds is the way that they move when creating higher and lower frequencies. As many vocalists, I used to have a crazy tendency for when I want to sing low notes that I would drop my chin, thinking that the lower I am, the lower that I can speak. However, of course, this year I have learnt that actually when you're trying to create a low frequency with your vocal folds, they shorten, which means that actually they angle upwards, which is the opposite direction to what you're doing with your chin. So essentially, you are pushing your vocal folds in the opposite direction to what they're trying to go, and it's the exact same with singing high notes. I'd always have a tendency to raise my chin. A way that I've been trying to combat this is, one, just being mindful of it, but also I've been, this may seem quite strange, but a thumbs up position and just popping this on my chest and resting my thumb on it and trying to sing like this, just to create that kind of awareness and mindfulness of this is the position that I need to be in when I'm trying to sing. Another fundamental thing that I've learnt this year is actually, as a singer and someone who obviously, my instrument is my body, and actually I need to know how to use that well, but not focusing on the way that my voice sounds. Actually, I need to focus on the way that my body feels when I'm trying to create a certain sound or a note in that sense, in a style. So actually, I learned that this year, your ears can be very deceiving, and an environment can have such an effect on the way that your voice sounds. So actually you might be trying to create a sound that maybe you can't in that environment. So it's so important to know actually how it feels when you're creating those things. Another thing that I learnt actually this year is that I sing with a tight jaw. And a way to combat this was an exercise of singing a song or maybe some scales on the phrase low. So like lo 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 lo, and I'd maybe do that for a whole song and then transition into using the lyrics of the song and just focusing on how that actually feels to just loosen up your jaw and to sing freely. All in all, I have had an absolutely incredible year, and I have learnt so much that I'm going to carry into my future, and the way that I use my body as a vocalist and the way that I produce my sound as a singer. I've learnt so much about myself, and I'm really grateful for this time. My name is Briony Townsend. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation for my performance portfolio. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!